Hello, Bremer County and all of Iowa. I'm Dr. Shawn and Emily. I'm a cancer scientist, biochem prof, and District 57 candidate.
And I'm Dr. Emily Bavers. I'm a physician, mother of three, and a health advocate. So, Shawn, last month, House Republicans came out with their top 3 legislative priorities: to reduce property tax, to make life more affordable here in Iowa, and to ensure Iowa is a safe place to call home.
Yeah, for sure. Most Iowans and Americans are feeling financial pain, and those first two are pressing concerns and challenging to navigate, with Iowa Republican leaders having dug a mammoth hole, grand-sized canyon hole in our budget in terms of deficit.
Absolutely. But let's talk about their last piece: ensuring Iowa is a safe place to call home. The bill they have offered includes assigning a mandatory 20-year prison sentence to a criminal on their third strike offense.
Yeah, Emily, I heard complaints and conversations about sentencing guidelines at my family's dinner table growing up. My father, he retired as chief of federal probation for the Northern District of Iowa. Growing up, we were surrounded by U.S. Marshals and federal agents as family friends. It's kind of it was a heck of a deal, really. I mean, my dad's bowling team had two or three sitting federal judges on it. So you could say that I've been raised in a house where justice was important, and we need to do protect and serve, and so with all honesty, why the 3-strike proposal? Why do we need this? Why now?
Well, apparently that purpose of a 3-strike law is deterrence. And the idea is that repeat offenders will be so scared off by the concept of 20 years in jail that recidivism, which is to say to commit another crime, will go down. However, Iowa is already one of the safest states in the country. It's technically number 14th on the list. Violent crime is way low. So one would think that our trifecta would be touting this as a policy win rather than using fear-mongering. So why do 3-strike laws benefit communities?
History has something to say about this. The 3-strike approach was really popular in the early 90s, with 28-ish some states adopting mandatory sentencing guidelines. And history suggests that it will take repeat offenders off the streets, but it's kind of limited in its effect as a deterrent to crime. As a result, many of the states who adopted this type of law have narrowed its application to crimes of felony violence.
Okay.
In fact, California, which is famous for putting this law in, was bursting in prison population in somewhere like 2012. They had a public vote, and they ended up narrowing the 3-strike sentencing guidelines to lessen the load on prison systems and get to the more violent crimes. So history suggests Iowa has to be very smart and focused on 3-strike sentencing guidelines.
Well, the Iowa legislature current proposal includes 1 strike for felonies and then specific aggravated misdemeanors, and a half strike for all other aggravated misdemeanors and serious misdemeanors. And so that's a broad application of the law in its form. And right now, Iowa's prison population is already more than 20% overpopulated. Again, in a state with a murder rate that is half of what the national average is. And so the legislative priority really doesn't make a ton of sense to me, because it feels like we're already doing really well here and we're spending a lot of capital to kind of change that. So what's going to happen when more people have a mandatory 20-year prison sentence?
Well, we're going to have to be judicious about assigning the points, first off. If we assign points on simple drug possession, for example, our state's facilities, which you mentioned are already overpopulated, they're going to be unable to handle the mandatory sentencing influx. Heck, even if we get the point system sufficiently narrowed, I'm concerned our jails and prisons are in no position to house more prisoners.
Yeah, I really hope that legislators are listening to prosecutors and judges and state officials to make sure this bill is narrow enough to actually target the violent felons, because the state simply doesn't have the money to house and build more jails. House more prisoners and build more jails.
Yeah, and not to mention the Governor Reynolds in her recent proposed budget it included $6 million less for the court system than the Iowa judicial branch had requested. So there's a disconnect here with what they're trying to accomplish and what they're actually able to fund.
Yeah.
So let's see and watch where the sentencing guidelines go for this bill moving forward. And I will point out Iowa's violent crime rate dropped 10% in this last year and is currently 25% below national level. We've got a lot of other pressing issues to tackle, including things we've talked about, but mental health, which is germane to this conversation, water, cancer, eminent domain, etc.
Yeah. And hearing those good news numbers about Iowa's low rates really reminds me, why right now for this bill? And I've got an idea that maybe the Republican caucus is failing Iowa and floundering for ideas, looking to drum up anything to appear that they're working for Iowans. Even if that means re-recording and releasing a hit from the 90s and more of the them versus us mentality that seems to drive so much of their policy. But I'm pretty sure Iowans won't forget that our economy was so much better in the 90s and we don't need the music back. So time for some of the common sense policy and maybe some representation changes too.
We can do better. Until next time, be well, Iowa.